Hello, everyone. My name is Lauren Smith, and welcome to Youth Navigate. This is our first ever interview with an author, and we couldn't be more excited. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Youth Navigate is a platform where studies are made engaging through summaries and clear, comprehensive language for teens by teens. Here, we're trying to solve the issue of teenagers lacking access to various mental health resources. Oftentimes, there's difficulty in understanding the complex jargon of research results on youth mental health and suicide when the main audience really should be teenagers. My name is Lauren Smith, and I'm an intern here at the Child Lab within the Yale School of Medicine's Child Study Center in New Haven, Connecticut. I'm thrilled to be joined here today by Ellen Lee, a postdoctoral associate in the Child Study Center who has earned her PhD in applied artificial intelligence. Ellen's research focuses mainly on affective computing, specializing in natural language processing and multi-modal learning to create accessible AI-driven healthcare solutions for real-world challenges, which I think is super cool. Today, we'll be taking a deep dive into one of her articles titled Detecting Depression on Video Logs Using Audiovisual Features, which she wrote in 2023. In the article, Ellen and her team share an interest in detecting depression through social media posts and how this has gained a decent amount of public attention. They focused on how videos on social media, primarily YouTube video logs or vlogs, as I'm sure we all know them as, can be used to detect depression, basically. She and her team proposed a depression detection model that utilizes both audio and video features extracted from these vlogs on YouTube. They began by collecting vlogs from YouTube and annotating them into depression and non-depression categories. They then analyzed the statistical differences between depression and non-depression vlogs and were able to build a depression detection model that learns both audio and visual features, achieving high accuracy. They believe their model helps detect depressed individuals on social media at an early age so that individuals who may need appropriate treatment can get help. With all that being said, I'm super excited to have her here and ask and answer a few questions that I had while reading her paper that I'm sure all of us would love to learn more about, because it seems like such a complex but also super interesting topic to research. So thank you so much, Ellen, for being here.
Hi, nice to meet you all, and Lauren, and thank you for introducing me with this amazing sentences. It's my honor to have a chance to share my work and paper to you all guys. Thank you.
Yes, it's super exciting. During my research, as I read through your paper and I was annotating it with highlighters and pens and adding in little questions that I had, I took out kind of the bigger questions that I felt were necessary and interesting to ask because I was super curious as I read. So starting off with my first question, originally, what made you want to pursue this particular type of study in the first place?
Well, like most of all, I studied psychology during my undergrad and applied AI during my PhD. So I've always been interested in how AI can be used to help with mental health and improve access to care. And what really got my team started on this study was seeing how a lot of research was coming out about using AI to detect people's mental state through social media. Since social media can show what people's lives are like outside of hospital settings, but most of those studies focused on text, like posts on Reddit. But what we noticed is that people often express themselves more through nonverbal ways like tone of voice or facial expressions when they communicate. And these days, social media has become much more visual, like on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. So we decided to focus on audio and visual information to detect mental disorder, especially like depression.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know, like, for me at least, when I'm watching different YouTube vlogs, I mean, I have like my go-to YouTubers that I like to watch. There are just like things that I don't even take into note about how they're acting. And of course, it's super cool to see how you're able to kind of look at how they're speaking, and it might not be very clear to a viewer like me who's just casually watching, to kind of sense different things and just how they're looking and how they're speaking and just, whatever it is that they're talking about, and able to kind of dissect that into something that can actually be really helpful for that individual and for people who may be experiencing depressive symptoms, which is awesome. Okay, moving on to my next question. So within just the introduction of your article, you mentioned how often users or vloggers, as you said, talk about their depressive symptoms in their vlogs. This I thought was pretty interesting because, and it was interesting that it was one of the starting points in your article, that most people in their vlogs will sometimes talk about their depressive symptoms. And some people may wonder why vloggers are open to talking about their depression to strangers rather than seeking help from a therapist. So why do you think people chose to, I guess, speak to their vlog in this way? And if people are so open and conversational about their depressive symptoms in these depressive vlog categories, if they're so open to talking about it and that is a way to help with depression, why is it that they aren't seeking help from a therapist when in reality they still are speaking, their symptoms?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think there are two main reasons. First, in our data set, a lot of people had already been diagnosed with depression. So they already know they have depression. And so making video was kind of like a way to track their symptoms in daily life. And sometimes, like some people, their clinicians ask them to do so. So, and that ties into the second reason. So, I'm not a psychiatrist, so I can't speak from a clinical point of view, but from what I've read in studies, just talking about your feelings can really help with managing emotions. So, like when I was in high school, if I had something on my mind, I go to my friends and ask, what do you think I should do something? Mm-hmm. But in real life, a lot of people don't have that kind of chance to open up. So I believe social media can give them a kind of stage where they can share what they are going through.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's some overlap with almost the fact that these people who are talking about their depressive symptoms, it's almost a comforting thing that they're not really talking to one exact person. And it's, as you said, more of just a way to kind of get things off their chest as opposed to speaking with someone directly that could be a little bit intimidating or uncomfortable for that person. Mm-hmm. Okay. Next question. Within this work, were you able to measure if those watching the depressive vlog formatted videos began to show their own symptoms of depression after watching the vlogs?
Actually, the study didn't look at how the video affects viewers, but I think that's a really interesting idea. But there is a study I've seen where people with depression were more likely to empathize with and even enjoy depression-related articles or like kind of memes compared to people without depression. So I think these kind of videos or other articles could help people who are struggling by making them feel like they're not alone.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And our next question that I was interested in, and there were some couple interesting key points that you talked about. One being even just the volume of how these users or vloggers would speak at. And so, why do you think those who display depressive symptoms in vlogs are quieter when they speak than those who are non-depressive who may be speaking louder? Is that something that you kind of looked into to have like a deeper meaning behind, or anything related to that?
So, yeah, that's a really thoughtful question. But I think we have to be careful when we try to interpret research like this. Mm-hmm. So, the numbers in this paper just show us a pattern. They don't tell us the cause. So, we can say, the depression vloggers tend to show like quieter, or right. Non-depression shows like louder. But if we really want to understand why they speak that way, we need additional studies. So we also have to consider the context of when and why they are speaking like that. Also, because this is was a group level study, it's hard to say that all people with depression speak like that. So yeah, but that's a good point, I think.
Yeah. No, that is a good point. And obviously, I know everybody displays their symptoms differently. And then these type of questions were the ones at the end that I was really interested in asking, and kind of just related to the overall article. But what is it about this article that you were really surprised by, or what was it that really helped you kind of keep going, that you were shocked and wanted to just find out more information?
Yeah, I was really surprised at how much nonverbal expression can tell us about someone's mental health just as much as what they're actually saying. So it showed us that I think using these signals can really improve prediction accuracy of mental disorder, and it opens up possibility for applying these models in our daily life, things like remote clinics or during our Zoom call like us. So yeah.
Very cool. And I guess this kind of ties into what you talked about, but your biggest takeaway, I guess, is just the fact that you're able to apply this to the greater world, from what it seems like you've been saying. But is there anything else that you think is just, what was the tell-all from this, and what was your biggest takeaway? And, now leaving your research and having spent so much time with various different people, figuring out answers to these questions that you had, what is your biggest takeaway from it?
What really surprised me was how many people use vlogs as a way to vent and take advantage of the support they can find through social media. So I think it's worth looking at your own daily life, like what platforms or what methods could help make healthcare more accessible. So you might discover something that no one's noticed before to help like others.
Absolutely. Well, that's the perfect way to kind of wrap everything up. But yeah, that was all that I had for questions. Ellen, thank you so much for your time. And I'm super excited to keep doing these types of interviews for Youth Navigate. As I said, this is our first one, so this is super exciting for us to be able to post. And for those of you who are interested in finding out more about Youth Navigate, feel free to check out our website, which will be in the bio of our Instagram, or if you're currently on the website now, accessing the full version of this interview, which is awesome. You guys can definitely check out Ellen and more of her work. But yeah, well, thank you so much, Ellen, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.